My name is Ellen Harris. I'm an architectural designer from Chicago, Illinois, and I'm standing inside of my garden for this year's International Garden Festival titled Worm's Eye. So this year, when I was thinking about the design for this garden, I started with this year's theme, sensitive mapping, and I found myself really spending some time thinking about what I felt sensitive mapping implies, which is sort of the opposite of sensitive mapping, or maybe insensitive mapping. And so in thinking about this distinction, I realized I wanted to find some kind of concrete case study to think with, and to sort of mine for sort of specific information. And what I landed on was the recent AI construction boom. I felt that the siting and construction of data centers really embodies some of this tension that I found between the embodied sort of sensitive ecological understanding implied by sensitive mapping, and in sort of counter-distinction to that, the sort of zoomed out, impersonal, extractive nature of traditional mapping. And specifically, I was sort of inspired by people in the American Southwest who have dedicated a lot of time recently to learning basically what their land needs in terms of water conservation, and have succeeded in sort of modifying their behavior in response to the land in preserving a lot of water for future use and for the sustenance of life for people and ecology. And companies who are interested in building data centers have sometimes taken note of this water that they've preserved and are interested in using it, not for the sustenance of life, but for the creation of these buildings and maintenance of these buildings. And so that's kind of where I found the language for my garden. Essentially, to highlight the contrast between sort of sensitive knowledge of land and insensitive knowledge of land, I wanted to use this structure as a sort of form of camouflage architecture in order to conceal this garden of primarily indigenous medicinal plants underneath. When I came to Métis earlier this week, a lot of what we're seeing here was already constructed, so the trench had already been dug and the structure was already built, and I spent the week working with volunteers to kind of finish it up, install the roof and the gutters, and maybe most notably do the plantation. And I was really lucky to have several horticulturists on my team, just as volunteers, who helped me sort of decide where plants should go, and that experience, that sort of collaborative experience, was really wonderful. So for visitors to the site, I think there are two primary ways of sort of experiencing the garden. This garden is situated sort of at the end of a row, and so you see it kind of from far away as you're walking up. And my hope essentially is that it looks sort of foreign or cold, metallic from far away. And as you approach, you sort of take note of the trench that's dug underneath and realize that, you know, this gesture is sort of an invitation to walk inside the garden and experience the plants, essentially. And my hope is sort of that in being sheltered and sort of like being under this low roof with the plants, visitors can just take time to reflect on their beauty or maybe wonder about their use. And also notice that the structure, even though it's sort of formally kind of cold and sterile and maybe has the appearance of an industrial building, is actually functioning to service the plants. So all of the water that's collected from the roofs during rain gets collected in these cisterns and is used as an irrigation system for the plants. Essentially, by coming in here and spending time with the plants, embodying this sort of worm's eye view, maybe visitors will reflect on their own relationship to land and the plants and the water that they sort of depend on.